Hello everyone, welcome to the video, and today we're going to be talking about my unkillable black flame build. But before we get into the video, I would like to ask you guys to just drop a sub and a like on the video if you found it helpful. It would help me out a lot and I would really appreciate it. So with this build specifically, I wanted to make sure that I was incredibly tanky, but also did a ton of damage, and I believe that this is probably the best build I've ever used so far. It's even better than my previous build with the lightning. It does an incredible amount of damage, and it's even tankier because it has heavier armor, whereas the build I had before was a little bit less completed. This one I believe is pretty much fully done, and it does so much damage, and I'm excited to show you guys. So now I'm going to bring up the gear and show you guys. So up first we have the Gargoyles Flame Art Twin Blade, and this is the twin blade I used for my other build, the lightning one. However, on this one, like I said, it's the Flame Art one, which uses the Black Flame Tornado that you get from killing the Godskin duo, and this does an incredible amount of damage, as you could see. It scales a little bit better with strength, and right now I actually have dexterity up. I haven't gotten around to changing it yet. However, it doesn't make that much of a difference. And up next we have the Godslayer Seal, and this is the sacred seal that I'm using for this build because it boosts Godslayer incantations, which are all of the black flame incantations and all of the black fire damage that I deal. As for the armor set or fashion, I'm currently using the Black Wolf Mask, which is basically Blade's mask. And then for the armor, I'm using the Veteran's Armor, Gauntlets, and Greaves. This gives me a ton of poise, and it also looks pretty great in my opinion. As you guys know from my last build, I really prefer having builds that have high poise, just because I don't get thrown around just as much, and it helps make me a little bit tankier because I can tank those hits and not be stun locked out of my abilities. So now we're going to talk about the talismans. The first talisman I have is the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman. This enormously boosts physical damage negation, really important for tankiness. And up next we have the Bull Goat Talisman. This increases poise. It gets me to about 100 poise without my mixed physic to give me even more than that. And then the next talisman is the Faithful's Canvas Talisman. There is one that does a little bit better than this. However, in order to get it, you have to do a quest and then kill a guy. And when I killed him, I didn't get it. So I must have done the quest wrong. But I'll get it in New Game Plus. However, this is a great substitution if you don't have that one. And for the last talisman, we have the Great Jars Arsenal, which vastly raises your maximum equipment load, which allows us to wear this heavy armor and still maintain a quick roll. So up next in the build, we have the consumables. As for the consumables, we have the Flask of Wondrous Physic, and the effects we have are temporarily boost stability, which is an increase to poise, and then we have the Flame Shrouding Cracked Tier, which temporarily boosts fire attack. These go great with this build because you don't want to get stun locked out of your abilities and moves, like I said before, and the extra flame damage helps out a lot. And then the next one is the Exalted Flesh, which is my other consumable that you use to temporarily boost physical attack. So as of right now, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but I really am proud of this build. And I honestly believe that this might be the best build in Elden Ring right now. The amount of damage I was able to do to a full-on dragon in the endgame area was absolutely absurd. And in that clip, I literally wasn't even done with the build yet. I was still going to get the pieces of it, and I just stumbled upon that dragon and absolutely destroyed him. It wasn't even close. I was able to tank most of his hits. I got frostbite. It only took 50% of my health away. Every single attack he did was like 20% of my health, maybe. And I mean, if you guys are familiar, obviously, you're watching this video, you'll understand that that type of damage in this game is literally nothing, especially with a late game boss and a dragon on top of that who hit for sometimes your entire health bar as a mage or a caster build. You know, being able to withstand 5, 6, 7 attacks in a row without healing from a dragon is pretty incredible. So we're going to get into the stats now. So for the stats of this build, I have 50 vigor, 25 mind, 29 endurance, 23 strength, 44 dexterity, 19 intelligence, 55 faith, and 14 arcane. Now I am currently boosted by my rune arc, so just subtract 5 from all of these stats and that would be the real stats. But I am currently level 140 and I started off with the prisoner class, so it's actually not ideal for this build and you could actually make it even better. So as I play a couple clips on the screen of me absolutely dumpstering some of the hardest bosses in the game, I'm just going to talk about a little bit why this build works and what makes it so great, and a few things you want to make sure you capitalize on, and a few things you want to make sure that you avoid. So right now the main damage of the build comes from your two-handed L2 move or power move from your twin blade. Like I said, it's called the Black Flame Tornado. It does an absurd amount of damage. I think the highest I ever hit on it was over 5,000, and you could literally two-shot a boss with it, depending on the boss, depending on how resistant they are to flame. You could literally destroy people. And in a lot of these clips, I was fighting enemies that were very immune to flame, and not just flame, but black flame, because I was killing the Godskin apostles, trying to get the black flame abilities to complete the build. So you guys are actually watching me trying to complete the build, and it's not even completed yet, doing the amount of damage it does. So as for the abilities, currently my lineup looks like Black Flame, which is basically the Black Flame Fireball, and then I have Black Flame Ritual, which just summons circles of Black Flame around me, does a lot of damage if people stand in it. It's really good to cast beforehand and then use your L2 ability. And then we have Scoring Black Flame. This sweeps the area before you. It's not a bad ability. And now we have the two abilities that you can change out. So the one I'm currently using is called Flame Grant Me Strength. This is incredibly good if you want more damage. I was not using it in these clips and still doing an absurd amount of damage, so you know you don't need it. However, it boosts physical and fire affinity attack power, and this build actually deals with both of those, since you're using physical and fire at the same time when using your weapon, so it does an insane amount of damage. However, if you find yourself to be too squishy, you can go to the Black Flame one. The Black Flame Protection one gives you a large boost to physical damage negation, and it'll make you very tanky. As you see in that dragon clip, I use that one, and the dragon barely does anything to me. So it is all kind of up to you guys whether you want more damage or more survivability, but both of them are amazing for this build. And then the last one is Noble Presence, which is where you thrust out a large shockwave to hit everyone away from you. Good ability, and overall all of these abilities complement very nicely with the weapon art of this weapon and the amount of damage that you can do. I contemplated changing out the weapon with the Godslayer Greatsword, but through a lot of testing I decided that this weapon with this specific Ash of War was significantly better, so I stuck with this one. And overall, I honestly, like I said before, I believe that this might be the best PvE build that you can have in Elden Ring right now. I don't see anyone else making builds like this that not only do so much damage, but just have that incredible survivability and the ability to just not get thrown around 24/7. And whenever I use this build, I truly feel like I always have the advantage, which is something that is rare to come across in an Elden Ring game. Whenever I walk into a boss fight, I just know that if they were to trade hits with me, I would always be doing more. So as for how to use this build exactly, you are going to want to walk into a boss fight or whatever. You basically use your Flame Grant Me Strength, you use your Wondrous Physic Flask, and then you pop one of the Exalted Flesh. You two-hand it, and it's nice when I call in one of my summons, because they will take the heat away and allow me to fully cast my ability. And a lot of times, even when you get hit, since we have such high poise from not only our regular poise and the talisman and the flask, you will actually not get stun locked out of it a lot of times, so you'll be able to cast the full ability. It does over 5,000 damage literally every single time, and usually like half a boss's health bar. It's absolutely insane. That is how you're going to be using the build. And a couple things I want to tell you guys to avoid, and some of the downsides of the build, are just obviously like when you're going up against flame resistant enemies, you're just going to want to make sure you spam like your R1 or your R2 of your weapon. And when you do that, it still does an incredible amount of damage. It's really like 600 damage a hit from the physical damage alone. And the only other downside would be the long casting time of the L2. Sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to get off, but honestly, most of the time I get it off with ease. And since you're so tanky, even if you don't get it off and they hit you out of it, you can get right back up like nothing ever happened. So there really aren't that many downsides of this build, which is why I honestly believe it might be the best build in the game right now. But that's pretty much it, so let me know what you guys think of the builds. If you found this video helpful or you liked the build, make sure to drop a like on the video. And that's pretty much it for me today, so thank you guys so much for watching. I'll come back with another build video soon, and I will see you next time.